Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voice Like a Lion podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Pemberton, and today we have someone who has become a quick friend of mine, and he will become a quick friend of yours. This is Clay Kennedy. He is the founder and CEO of Bandera Leather, and he has so much business experience that I'm excited to unpack. And I just want to encourage you, get your smartphone, get your dumb phone, get whatever you need to take notes because he is a deep well of knowledge. Clay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Don't boost me up too much.
Well, so for the audience, they don't know it, but we've already had a pretty extensive conversation. I mean, we talked a couple weeks ago for over an hour. It was only supposed to be a few minutes, ended up turning into an hour. It was a great time, and that's why I wanted you to be on the show. And because you're doing things in a very unique way. I know some people that are also in the leather industry, but the fact that you are, especially now, stepping fully into this new AI thing that everyone else is at least exploring, it's fascinating to me because I would love for you to just diagnose a couple different things, and we'll start here. Is you are talking about using AI to help you build Bandera Leather. So what gave you that idea? Why'd you decide to go down that route?
Well, let's go back a little ways. I would say about a year ago, and Bandera is a startup, so we're brand new. I've been working on this for about a year and should have launched several months ago, but we're, wrapping it all up, getting ready to launch. And in the meantime, I started hearing about ChatGPT about a year ago. Nephews and everybody were doing it at Christmas, playing it and everything. I didn't even figure it out. I didn't even remember the name of it. So finally, after a couple of weeks, I downloaded it, started messing around with it, and still couldn't figure out what it was supposed to be. And so I started slowly getting into some webinars and took a few classes. I got certified in a little bit of AI. And I tell you, I've been addicted to it ever since. It's amazing. Going through business the way I have, there's a lot of things. I'm not your typical business, student. I'm more of a student now. But anyway, I sort of jumped in, been an entrepreneur since I was 26 years old, and have been building businesses up from the ground, sold a few, lost a few. And, but anyway, so with the AI, it's sort of a missing link for me. I'm a little bit older. I wish I was back in my 30s and had this option. So I'm telling my kids every day, it's just learn AI, learn AI, learn AI right now. And it's just amazing how much it helps me run my day now, more so than I even realize. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize I do. And especially because of the research I'm doing to create these platforms. And so in putting together our tech stack, I've really done a lot of research in, Shopify is our platform, and then building around that. There's the Klaviyo's with the email marketing, there's the HubSpots with the CRMs. You can go on and on with all these companies that have had the SaaS for a long time. And, but they're implementing the AI they're integrating it into their systems, which I've been told are actually agents and bots that they're actually putting into those systems. And so the idea came along that it would be great doing this on a low budget. It's pretty amazing what I've done in a year with a low budget and getting a business together. People don't usually realize what's all involved until they're in the middle of it. And then you start thinking, gosh, I got to buy inventory.
Yep.
And anyway, so with the AI, when I was starting, it was the just basic AI, and then it turned into generative AI was the talk, and it still is the talk, and it's still doing well. And then, recently, I'd say for me, the last 7 months, it's been the agentic AI and agents. And I dove into that before people were really even talking to it. It's just, that's the way I kind of do business, or I do business, is I'll network with people and I'll pick and choose things that fit for what I need. And that wasn't just something that just happened. I mean, I had to learn that, and it sort of formed my networking, which is one of my strengths in meeting people and figuring out things. And so as I was sort of building this tech pack or stack, I was talking to the developer, and I was like, why can't we have, instead of, going into some of the, I found 2 or 3 companies that are actually implementing agentics right now. And the other companies, they don't want to talk about it in their webinars. They're doing everything they can, racing behind the scenes to get it put into their integration, because they know that's what's selling right now. Everybody wants that, reasoning agent that's going to make decisions. And so I started coming up with the idea of having custom agents build for our needs, based on each division or sector: marketing, sales, accounting, so on, and then operations, and then have or fulfillment, and then have one agent who's over those agents. It's similar to a setup of a company. And so you can do that. It's coming. There are some companies right now at an enterprise level that are just now getting to the point where they can implement the full end-to-end agentics, and it's probably $100,000 starting to have all that done. So there really hadn't been one made for smaller startups or smaller to mid-level companies.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody listening that's good with tech, there's an opening right there for a great idea. Because I'm sitting here like, is there somewhere where I can put these apps and not have to change screens all the time, and have it where, maybe I can get all my agentics on a Zoom call? But I haven't figured that one out yet. So with that in mind, it's so expensive at this level, and we don't have a lot going on in the beginning that's going to need a full agent team. So we're going to try to grow into it and build one right now and see how that goes. I'm working closely with our other plugins, apps, software companies that understand what I want to do. And a lot of them, it's pretty amazing. It's not like I'm one of those guys who's out in the forefront of technology. I'm not a tech guy. But I see something and it's grabbed my attention like nothing else has. And besides the leather business, which I'm in, and combining the two has really, created another level for me. I feel more confident. I feel like, this is my last hurrah. This is the last business I want to put together. It's one I've been wanting to do for a long time. I have gotten some investors involved, so it's going to help me. I didn't want to have to do that, but I'm going to do it at a small level and get it, where that builds up. Basically, you need it for inventory. Mm-hmm. And so with that, we're pretty much ready, close to being ready to launch. I'm wanting to launch by May 15th at the latest. Get somewhat prepared for Father's Day, because we are basically a quality leather men's line of all kinds of products. But we're going to start pre-launch, and start working on our emails and getting emails out there, start getting people excited. Because a lot of what I've learned, besides the AI technology, is the new thing is personalization in your websites. Building a community around what you're doing. And so it really, where a lot of things I didn't realize that I was going to run into that have changed is, you really need a face to the company to build a brand. And basically what it comes down to is you've got to build a brand. Mm-hmm. And you've got to get people excited about your brand and what your product is. You got to start with the product, and then so on and so on, get in line with everything else. But so by getting all this set up and entering or integrating the AI with it, it's going to be interesting to see how that starts at a startup level. And it's going to be kind of a hit and miss at first. I know we're going to have to put a lot of work into it. You got to watch it all the way down the line, especially when you start getting into the ad spend and the social media and all that. And so I'm trying to be real creative in that section of it. You can have a social media agent manager, which would be great. And so there's all kinds of agents that you can build into your company. Literally, you could have, 30 or 40 of them to cover all kinds of things. Bots still have a place in all this, where chat bots have become sort of the pawns of the game, where they're assigned a specific task and they deal with the agent direct. And so you don't even know half the stuff that's going on. And at the end of the day, you hope you have your data analytics are up. It's all about data. And, I get to sit back and just watch data all day. That's how easy I'm hoping it will be. But it's exciting.
You become a data scientist almost.
That's right.
So I have a question.
A little bit of all that. I never took a business course at school. I do have a degree from TCU. Go Frogs, right? Anyway, so that's about where I am right now, and things are good. It's tough doing a startup. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, the startup space, I think, has been over glamorized now. This is something I was actually talking to my wife about yesterday, because I had a meeting with a core group of guys, and we're thinking about creating a space inside of our church. Our church is pretty big here in Tulsa, and we have a lot of business owners, but there's no way for us to meet one another unless we just stumble upon one another. So we are looking to create a space, and we were talking about that. It's like, okay, do we make a space for veteran business owners? They've been around for a little more established, or do we do this for startups, or do we have a mix of both? And for me, my definition of a startup is someone similar to you. You have past business experience. You're deciding to do a new venture. Maybe you have some investors. Maybe you don't. Maybe you have a capital that you've raised over time. Whatever that looks like, that's what I would view as a startup. There's people who would say, well, I'm a startup business owner. And it's like, but you've never had a business. You don't know anything about business, and you are wanting to jump into selling tacos, let's just say. It's like that, to me, is two separate things. Like, this is your first time starting a business. A startup founder is someone who has already founded a few businesses in the past. They've been a part of one, whatever that looks like. But for me, I would love if you would take us back in time just for a little bit, where you were talking about you had business successes where you started them. I know we had talked about this off camera, but there was something that you talked about when you and I spoke. You were talking about being 26 and you started this business, and then it grew to a multi-million-dollar business. Let's say the next venture after that, because I know you mentioned that there were some that didn't go as well. If you were able to go back now and you were able to have the same tools at your disposal now, what would you have done differently that would have dictated a different result?
A lot of things, actually. When the first business we had, we grew pretty fast, and it was right after 9/11. Dating myself a little bit. It was about 2001, which hit our company really hard. We were more accessories for the home. We were bought by Bassett Furniture, which we were going to along with their furniture, we were going to accessorize their stores. And so I would say, we had it all back then. We had a fulfillment center that grew to 70 people. We had about 40 people. We had a 70,000 square foot warehouse.
Wow.
And we had truckloads coming in daily from Mexico. They were all handmade goods that we would go down and design. So it wasn't your typical stuff that you see now in the corners at gas stations with baskets and pottery and things like that. I'd like to say we were before that curve, and after our situation, I think a lot of it just started coming up here direct. But personnel issues probably were the main thing. Where having 40 people in a warehouse today, there with the barcodes and everything else going on, you can streamline that to have 3 or 4 people run it. And you have it packaged and prepared and everything. It's, pick it off the shelf, press the order and go, and then you have a truck waiting for you. Fulfillment centers have come a long way since then. Because what I'm doing this time, which is different from what I did in the past, is I'm basically sourcing out everything. To some degree. I still buy things from Mexico. I've been doing business in Mexico for 30 plus years. And I have good relations, good connections in the leather industry. And I had my other business that we bought handicrafts that were handmade, as I said before. But the problem is when you start scaling, because I had this business, and as I said, I didn't have a real big business background, so I jumped in with both feet, just ran with it. I'm a creative more than a business guy, but you learn a lot about business, and I guess starting over is don't jump in without knowing what you're getting into before you do it. Do your due diligence, study. I mean, research. Get a mentor. Have him show you his store or how they're doing things now. I saw after we sold the company. At that point, it was about the mid 2004, 2005. I had some family issues come up. Some friends passed away, family, and lost the business at that time. And another good friend of mine that passed away. So I took a little time off. I call it early retirement, and that's why I'm probably still going today. But it would be, first of all, to do what I did back then, you've got to be young and strong and healthy. But the older you get, you learn to do things in a smarter way. That it's kind of like AI in a sense. I like to be able to do things focused the right way in 4 or 5 hours instead of having to learn the whole thing, and it takes 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
But now with AI, I can literally get things done in an hour that I couldn't even do before. I mean, I'll admit I didn't even know how to do Excel, the formulas and things like that. I could get on there and type enough and, get some stuff done, paperwork done and stuff. And I could do PowerPoints and things like that, but it took me a long time to do all that. And now, everybody talks about AI is going to come in and create more time for you. All it's going to do is it's going to create more time to fill up that time. It's kind of like having a closet. It's empty, and all of a sudden it's full, and it stays full. So you're going to find ways to get creative. Now, the thing is to stick on the creative part and do what you do best. But I would recommend first you've got to know what you're getting into, know the market. Don't let people tell you no. Everybody's always told me no, so I've always been sort of an outlier rebel.
Yeah.
Yes. And I knew what I wanted to do, and they didn't get the gist of it. Why are you doing leather now? There's a ton of leather people out there. Well, I have a plan, and it's different than what I did before. And I past 8 years, I worked for another leather company that had a factory in Mexico, and then we had a brand up here. And I learned a lot from that. But what a lot of people don't get or understand is when you build a business, it happens fast, especially if you have a product that's selling. And what happens is it can get out of control really fast. And we had a bunch of money dumped in our laps when Bassett came along. We bought $1 million of inventory. We had the bigger offices that we moved into. And then, we hit the wall. Bassett decided that they were going to go to China and sort of left us behind. We had stuck with all this inventory and everything else. And they had a percentage of the company. They didn't buy the whole company, but I stayed on to keep working. And the next thing I know, we're out of money. Even though you're doing 6-7 million, you still have those problems. And a lot of it was in payroll, which you don't have to have a lot of that today with the way things are forming. But where you learn the most that you'll ever learn in your whole life is when you're going out of business. It's something that you built. It's your pride. It's everything you've put into it. And you find out who your friends are, because you find out pretty quick the people you pay don't stay your friend once you're not paying them. Although we were friends in the workplace and things like that, but you learn a lot about the mistakes. You reflect back on what you've done, and part of what you go forward is trying to avoid those pitfalls and avoid those same mistakes. And even working with another company, you learn a lot on someone else's dime in a sense. And, but I helped build these companies, and now I'm back where I want to build my own and sort of leave a legacy, leave something with my kids if they're interested in taking it. But, I would say going out of business and, sticking to a game plan. The other more important thing is before you jump in without any knowledge of what it takes to run your own business. And if you're younger, go work for a company that's doing what you want to do at a higher level, and go in there for a couple of years. It goes by fast. You learn what you need to learn so you can go in and you can build the right structure. And when you start, you already have, the momentum going in. You've got to find a product. I always have a lot of products. In other companies, I've had over 1,000 SKUs. Right now, we're starting with about 50. And that will grow and get bigger. A lot of these companies I'm working with right now that I'm talking to, that I've met through webinars, and I've been doing a lot of networking, is a lot of them are finding an item, a product, and that's what they're building the brand around. And it can be quite successful. I don't know what the rate is of who makes it and who doesn't in just a product, but I am more of a product person, but I have to have more products than one product or I get too bored. So I have to have something that I love, something I have a lot of passion for. I mean, who doesn't love leather in some degree? And it's been around since, the beginning of time. And the beauty of it now is, the meat processors were just throwing away the hides, 30, 40 years ago. And so some of these tanneries here or locally, where we have a few in the States, where, it's sustainable, where we're getting those hides and sort of recycling them in a sense, and making them into, wonderful products. There's been some of them are made with certain chemicals, chrome, that you have to have. Another type is vegetable tan, that's all organic. And it's a longer process. It's more expensive, but I really like getting into that because that's that type of leather that it's raw, and it patinas, it'll turn that dark brown or have you use it. People, when they buy leather, that's the nicest it's going to look is the first day you have it.
Yep.
Because most people want to keep it that way, but it's hard. You got to do it. You got to really keep it up. But I like it when, I've got some pieces that are older than me that are still sewn together. They've got the same hardware, it's different designs and things like that, but leather lasts. And, but anyway, so I hope that helps somebody, in the sense of when they get started, is know what you're doing, get some experience, and build slowly. Only get what you need. I just had a conversation with my partner yesterday saying, you know what? Everything that I've been studying in AI and what I'm looking at, I've gone to each level. When I look back a year ago and I see some of these, sign up and get 100 prompts, I look back at that like that was so long ago. It's so gone in that sense. Prompting is obviously very important, prompt engineering. But what a lot of people don't realize is you've got to get in the depths of prompt engineering to really know how to utilize the LLMs. But it's also going beyond the LLMs now, and that's what's exciting. And and they say, AI is going to take a lot of people's jobs. It will. It's coming, and I think it's going to come faster than people think. And the thing is, though, is the people who are learning it now. I tell my kids, everybody, jump into AI now, learn as much as you can, and you'll be prepared. Because the people who are going to have the jobs are the people who understand and can implement or integrate AI. And there's going to be a ton of jobs for that sector. Prompt engineering's incredible. I keep thinking someday we're not going to need that, where there's going to be reasoning and emotions and all that, where, your LLM or your agent, whatever it might be, will say something to you. It was kind of strange. The other day I was with the ChatGPT going through things, making some slogans for the company, and it comes out with 100 of them.
Yeah.
And I lowered it down to that. And then the last question, I said, let's get more precise into what I want. And it was like, cool, Clay, that's a good idea. And I was like, did it just talk to me?
Yeah.
I mean, it really did. And so what the LLMs do is they start understanding you as one user, and they start remembering what your data is. And that's where the next step with agentics will come in, and they start reasoning and making decisions based on that data. And it's pretty remarkable, but data at the end of the day is another thing. So I know I'm kind of skipping around 3 or 4 generations here, but that's just how I am. I love what I do, and I love to talk about it, and I love to talk to people who like to talk about it. So that's,
Yeah.
When we first met, I feel like we hit it off where, I don't have a problem sitting here talking about business and getting excited about it and having the passion. The AI has really brought back a passion I haven't had for a long time.
I love that.
Really exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for walking us through that, especially because something that you said, it really spoke to me, where you were saying you learn more going out of business than you do in business. That's something that I didn't realize when it hadn't been many years, but a couple of years ago, we shut down a 7-figure business. And that was not easy. Like, that was something we felt led to do. Faith is big for my wife and I. And so we felt like the Lord was telling us to shut that thing down. And I realize now, a few years later, the business I have now is not as big as that one was, but I know more now, and I can help more people now with what I do have than when I was making more money. So I think that's just one of those fascinating aspects that you were talking about. Is I learned more with a business barely on life support than I did with a thriving business, and I think that's really interesting. So for you, Clay, because as we're coming towards the end of this, where can people support you? So what I mean by that is, like, where can they find you to be able to follow you, and where also can they follow along on the journey of you guys about to launch? Because they're only a couple of weeks away from being able to launch. So how can people get on a wait list? How can they buy stuff? What does it look like?
Yeah, you can email me direct right now at clay@banderaleather.com. And our website will be banderaleather.com. And it'll take us a while to build on the SEOs and all the things, getting out there. But if you want to get on the mail list, you can go to banderaleather.com right now, and it has a holding page that has a place to put in your email. And everything will be coming in, funneling in, and I already have a lot of customers from the past. And so the idea here is to really stick to the seed. Yes. And I've been a lot in the wholesale, but I'm fine. In this leather business, there's probably 7 strong channels of sales I can hit. But the more you start doing it, spreads you out. So I'm trying to really focus on the D2C. But I have a couple of backup channels in case we need to create cash flow. And that will be in corporate gifting. So everybody knows everybody who is up in a bit, has a business or owns a business, or the HR, and they buy a lot of gifts for their company, rewards, or as giveaways, golf tournaments, things like that. And we've done a lot of those. And so it's a real easy process. You get a better deal on the volume. And, we turn around probably 3 to 4 weeks right now on larger orders. We'll have stock, but so we're excited about the future and what's going on. And it's like I'm in the funnel. It's like, but I've been dumped in it. And when you get to the end, there's a million little things that have to be done.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, I stepped back and I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to come rushing through the door. I look at it as a physical store. Nobody's going to come running through our website, maybe at the first week if we do some pre-launch, but we can still build. We're going to be building on it and changing things as time goes on constantly.
Yeah.
And so, those are some of the things that come with it. And there'll be some learning curves, but always, build what you can keep your arms around. If somebody comes in and they're pushing you to get bigger, we can get bigger, we can get bigger. And I said, okay, I can make all this stuff. You package it up and send it out and do all the rest. And it's not easy. And other people get involved. You got too many decision makers. you've got to have your knowledge and know what you're doing, and come up with the right plan, and then execute it, and get ready to spend a lot of hours. But that's your passion. You love it. It's better. It's freedom. I mean, I can work all through the night and have a couple hours off in the morning, but you work more. That's for sure. And but it's great. You get a lot out of it, and that's what I do. So hopefully I can get this thing going in 5 or 6 years and turn it over to my kids and start traveling the world.
Yeah.
I'll find something to keep building. But anyway.
I mean, with all the experience that you have and the way that your mindset is going into this venture, I would be hard pressed to believe that it would even take you that long. I believe that you have the right tools at the right time with the right mindset, doing the right thing, because you're not experimenting with stuff that you don't know product wise. You're doing something that is established, but yet this is something I talk to newer business owners around, especially in the e-com space, is they think they have to create the newest thing or they have to go drop ship from China. And I'm just like, you actually don't have to do that. Same thing you were saying is if you can plan it. So what's your total addressable market? If the thing's a $3 trillion market, let's just say, it's like, you don't need 100% market share. You could have 10% market share and have a big business. It's like, being able to understand that. This is something I see even with people where there's a guy I know, he's doing about $5 million a year. And he's sitting there, he's like, yeah, I'm just not sure how to grow it. It's like, at least he's acknowledging he doesn't know how to grow it instead of saying this thing can't grow. Because $5 million to most people is quite a bit of money. But but realistically, that is still a small business. That is not even a medium-sized business yet.
Right.
And that just means that you don't know how to scale. And that's okay. It's a problem to be solved instead of a mindset that you can't get through.
You know, when I started at 26, and usually it's that 5-year hump is when you have to start scaling. And at 31, I didn't even know what scaling was. I was so immersed in the business. That's the other thing. Take care of yourself through all this, because it gets very stressful. But anyway, that's part of where I say, like, keep your arms around the company. There's nothing wrong with having a nice, steady $5 million company that you can make $250,000 a year. Your family, you do what you want, you start saving your money, and you can be set for life. By the time you're 50, 60 years old, you can retire and sell it. I've already had some people interested to see how we're going to do that. It's amazing with the AI, back to the AI a little bit, how many people come out of the woodwork, and you're starting to see more and more, and people selling things. You got to be real careful what you're out there buying. Yeah. Because there's some guys, they know on the surface it sounds good to you, but they're not really helping you. And they'll take your money and then give you a bunch of ebooks, and say, you're on your own, call us in a week, we'll see how you're doing. Yeah. But anyway, so, there's a lot of things. If anybody, wants to reach out and talk about a new business or startup, I'd be happy to spend some time with anybody who might have some questions. I don't charge that much. No. But anyway, so I'm excited. A lot of the things I have done, I'm at a point where I could easily segue into being an AI consultant for large companies. And I've talked to people who have large companies, and they get so excited about AI because they don't know a thing about it. Yeah. So the little that I know puts me in a position that I know a lot more than the people who don't. I mean, and that's a big spread. But anyway, it's been great. This is my first podcast, so I'm excited to be on here, Stephen. I really appreciate you spending the time listening to me.
Absolutely. I want to, for everyone listening, all the email address, the website, everything will be in the description. You don't have to remember it's like, okay, is that a B? How do I spell this? So it'll all be in the description, and you'll be able to just click and go straight to it. Clay, I want to thank you so much for being here. And everyone else, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
Great. That was fun. Thank you.